What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here, back with another World of Warcraft video for the War Within. Now today we are doing something a little bit different, but at the same time something a little bit similar as well. We are going to be covering professions, but I'll be doing so in a little bit of a different way than I have done in the past, and we're going to go over multiple specializations that you can set up right now. For this video we are focusing on Inscription, and I really like Inscription by the way. As a gold making profession it has absolutely infinite potential, and I have set up a lot of my concentration characters to have enchanting plus Inscription. I really like Inscription, so today I'll be showing you multiple builds in Inscription, and I'll kind of be doing this because we have already data mined a profession respec, which means you will at some time in the War Within very likely be able to reset your talent points or your knowledge points. So if you feel like you have made a mistake at any point with the spec you currently have, you will very likely get the option to actually do something about that in the very near future. It was data mined for patch 11.0.7, which would be the next patch, which is probably coming in December, but they have taken it out of that data mine, and they have said they will be working on it and it'll be coming out in a later update. That could be a hotfix during 11.0.7, or it could be 11.1. But so far, we know that they have been working on a respec system, and it's very likely to be coming out at some point in the War Within. Now, this kind of gives you a second chance at professions, and I'll be doing my best to help you spend those knowledge points in the best way possible. And if you want even more of my guidance when it comes to gold making, whether that is farming or professions, then check out my Goldmaking Guide for the War Within, which is linked down below in the pinned comment and also in the video description. By getting this guide, you get over 100 pages of gold making information that is relevant for the War Within, specifically for this expansion as well. We have Goldfarms in Zygor or the War Within, and we have a lot of information about professions, how to make gold consistently, we have shuffles in there, and we also talk extensively about using your concentration and setting up concentration builds. I am making millions on concentration crafts alone. It's arguably the best way to make gold in the War Within if you ask me, because concentration is a limited resource, and you can basically make quality 3 outcome by using quality 1 or quality 2 reagents, and it's just such a good way to make gold. Either way, link to the guide will be down below. Now for today's video, we'll be setting up multiple different specs in Inscription, and I'll be talking about why I would spend the knowledge points here and there and go through this with you guys. So for this, we are going to go over to Wowhead, and we'll be using their profession talent tree calculator, so you can see exactly how to spend points from 0, and you will get a total count over here for the talent point needed, or the knowledge points needed to set up this spec. Now in this case, we're going to go with a concentration spec first of all, and one of my favorite concentration specs is literally making Darkmoon sigils. Now the thing is, to do this, you don't even have to put in any knowledge points, you can learn this one right away. As you can see here, when you learn this, you have the option to learn a sub-spec, so you can learn this one right away, and then you can learn a sub-spec right away as well, and currently the Ascension sigil is the one that is selling for the most, and also has the biggest sale rate. For example, in EU right now, this one has 300 daily sold, meanwhile the other ones have about 20 each, so this one is selling 15 times more often than the other sigils, and the reason for that is that this is basically the best in slot sigil for a bunch of DPS classes, even some tanks and healers I believe. So for this we're going to learn this one, and the thing is, when it comes to spending your knowledge points, the skill in your craft directly makes you spend less concentration, so you want to have as much skill as you can, and in this case the main one here in the archival editions gives you skill when doing this craft. This one as well gives you skill when doing this craft, and obviously this one also gives you skill when doing this craft. So when it comes to what gives you the most, you just have to look at the bonuses here, but you should get a bunch of knowledge points right off the bat. But really, you just want to max this one out, you then want to max this one out, and then you want to max this one out as well. And when you max out this one, you get the ability to learn these, and even though you are not going to spend any knowledge points there, you might as well learn them, because that is 3 more knowledge points by just making each of them once. Don't even have to make them at quality 3, can be quality 2, and in that case you usually get your gold back. So at this point you have set up the main build you want to go for with 90 knowledge points, and you are now basically good to go, but there are a couple of things you want to do to enhance the gold you make here as well, by going to Pursuit of Knowledge. Over here you can max out this entire tree, it will always benefit you, but that being said, there is something you want to prioritize over the other ones. So first of all, when you learn this, you can literally just pick a sub-spec right away, and at this point you have two options, and which one you should go for depends on how much knowledge points you currently have, because if you max out the main node, aka this one, you will now get 1 more knowledge point per week by doing your treatise or treatise. Now that will give you +2 every single week instead of +1, but it still just gives you 5 acuity, but still 1 knowledge point every single week. Now this one gives you multicraft, ingenuity and resourcefulness throughout the entire way. That being said, this one gives you only multicraft, and not only that, you want to learn this one first of all anyway to get more multicraft, but during these bonuses, you get more goods when you proc multicraft. This is where you learn to start getting 4 sigils from a proc and 5 sigils instead of just getting 1. So maxing this one out, you basically double the outcome of your multicraft, and if you have enough knowledge points, you really want to max this one out first, and then also max out this one. But if you are really struggling on knowledge points, maxing out Pursuit of Knowledge first will once again give you 1 more knowledge point every single week. Now at this point you have 2 more things that will help you benefit your craft. You have this one right here, Detail Oriented, which will give you more resourcefulness procs, and like you will get more materials back when proccing resourcefulness as well, and you obviously want to learn this anyway, because that is a free bonus to your craft. That being said, you are working on concentration here, we're doing a concentration build, and by putting points into Eureka, you will get more ingenuity, and every time it procs, you get more concentration back. And concentration is the main way you're making gold here. It will be concentration plus multicraft. So for me, I will max out this one next, and now we are on 180 knowledge points. And after that, you finally have this one as well for 30 more points, and that brings the subtotal of this build to 210 points that will actually benefit your craft, and you have kind of gone through in the exact order of which I would do this in as well. So with build number 1 done, we can reset this and go on to build number 2, which is going to be another concentration build, but instead of going for Darkmoon sigils, we are going to go down the right path instead of the left path. And over here you will have the option to do either contracts, missives, or Vantis runes. And if you're doing this really early after watching the video, currently I am doing contract, and I'm making a bunch of gold on contract. Usually the formula goes like this: if you get 1 contract, which is a normal thing to get, you either break even or make a little bit of extra gold. But every time you proc multicraft, you make a bunch of gold. Like for example, the other day I procced this 2 times 6, so on 2 crafts I got 12 contracts, and that made me about they're 5,000 gold each, so 50,000 gold profit on 2 crafts where you just proc multicraft. That's pretty insane. So on this one, I would focus contracts first, and then as a backup, you can do either missives or Vantis runes in case contracts at some point stop making gold. So I have, for example, put in my knowledge points after contracts into Vantis runes, but obviously, before you do that, you want to max out the build. So this is just a backup for when you have absolutely done everything you can for contracts. Now it's worth pointing out that 11.1 and 11.2 both will be new patches, with new zones in them probably, which means you might also get a new faction, and a new faction also means a new contract, so you can make more gold. And if we don't get a new contract, we will get a new raid, and a new raid means Vantis runes. So let's just talk about how to set this up first for contracts, and then keep Vantis runes as a backup for a future patch. So here we spend 90 knowledge points, like 30, 30 and then 30, and you have the exact same thing in Pursuit of Knowledge over here as well, where the main bonus of the main node here is getting 1 more knowledge point every single week, but personally I would really prefer going multi-craft first for that bonus. You can get a bunch of knowledge points by just doing your weekly crafting orders and your catch-up crafting orders anyway, so knowledge points really shouldn't be a problem. After maxing out the multi-crafting node, I would then go to the middle node and max that one out as well, because even though this one gives you 1 more knowledge point, it also gives you a bunch of multi-craft. This one, once again, is the jack of all trades, giving you ingenuity, resourcefulness, and multi-craft for every point you put in, plus the bonuses as well. And after that, once again, it will be a concentration character, so we are focusing on the ingenuity part here, getting concentration back from our crafts. After that, we then have detail-oriented, maxing that one out as well, and that brings the total to 210 knowledge points here as well. The exact same build as the sigils, but instead of going for a sigil, we are going for a contract. Now, after the contract and you have put in 210 points to max out this build, I would then start putting points into Vantage runes, like a couple points here, a couple points there, until you max that one out as well as a backup, just in case, for example 11.1, if that doesn't have a new faction, so no new contract. It will definitely have a new raid, and a new raid means a new Vantage rune, and that might make the Vantage runes more profitable than the contract, and by putting points into Vantage runes, you are prepared for that to happen. Now, this build will require 240 knowledge points, so it's going to take a long time to make. I say a long time, but like, it will take a few weeks to make, but you don't have to do this one right away, like the Vantage runes. That's just a backup. Now, currently, for both of those specs I just showed you, the best stat to go for on your tool would be multicraft, and because they are concentration characters, the best enchant for your tool will be ingenuity, because once again, you will only be using those characters for concentration craft, unless you can actually make gold by mass crafting as well. If you are mass crafting, you obviously want to have a resourcefulness enchant, because there are no multicraft enchants, but if you are only using it for concentration crafting, like I am, then ingenuity enchant would be the best one to use. So multicraft, focus on that one. Now let's switch things up and start making a milling character. This will not be for concentration, but this is something you can do to make a bunch of gold and mass produce as well. So you can buy a bunch of herbs on the auction house, then you can put some knowledge points in and start milling them and make a profit. For this, the main milling node is in Pursuit of Perfection, and you want to get to improved milling. That's really the only one that matters. Now at the moment, there has been some weird things with milling, where sometimes you don't want to have the skill points, which is really weird, where a new milling character will be better than a seasoned one, for example, and you kind of have to artificially nerf yourself just to make a bunch of gold. But in this case, let's just talk about how to set up the optimal spec based on paper, because any bugs that are currently in the game could at some point be fixed. Either way, you max this one out, the main milling node, and then you also have the Pursuit of Perfection for even more skill points when you're milling or crafting reagents, so you want to max that one out as well for those skill points. After this, you want to go over to Pursuit of Knowledge, and this is where things will kind of take a different turn than they did for the previous specs, and setting up this spec will be way easier than it was previously, because over here you only really benefit from two things, because when you're milling, the only stat you care about will be resourcefulness. You will not be spending concentration, so this one is rendered mute, and then you also have multitasking. You don't get multicraft procs on milling, so you don't need that one either. So for this, you just want to go to detail oriented, max that one out first, and then you have the main node as well, also giving you resourcefulness, and yeah, more resourcefulness as well from this main tree, and obviously one more knowledge point every single week. So these are really the only two you need, which means you need 120 knowledge points and you are good to go. Now, because you don't need that many knowledge points, you can start using this character for multiple purposes. For example, let's just say you want to mill and also make ink on the same character. Well, in this case, after setting yourself up for milling, for example, you can then put 30 more points into improved inks, and you can also go to Pursuit of Knowledge and put in multicrafting, for 30 more points, and now you can both mill and make inks. Now, there is one thing here. First of all, you will need 180 knowledge to have both specs on the same character, and you will need 2 different tools, because when you are milling, so you're only focusing on milling, the only thing you care about will be resourcefulness, so you want to have a tool with resourcefulness on it, and a quality 3 resourcefulness enchant on your tool as well. Now, when you're making inks, you want to have a tool with multicraft on it, but also resourcefulness enchant. So one tool with resourcefulness on it for milling, and one tool with multicraft on it for crafting inks. And that way you can do both milling and ink crafting on one and the same character, instead of burning 2 characters for a smaller build. Now, just so you have even more to go for long term as well, you can also set yourself up to craft ciphers for 30 more knowledge points, so maxing this one out for 30 points, we are now up to 210 points needed on this character. That is once again not a required to have this, but you can set yourself up to make ciphers as well, and this one will affect both the boundless ciphers and the codified greenwood, so you can, just to have a long-term goal here and to keep spending your knowledge points in a beneficial way, you can set yourself up to make this one as well, and you can even start putting points into Eureka to start spending more your concentration even better and making more gold from concentration as well, because this character will be able to start making gold from concentration crafts the second you will start making ink. Quality 3 ink sells for more than quality 2. That being said, I typically make more gold from ciphers, so you are doing this just to increase the gold you make every single week and every single day. Now, at this point, there is one more build that I want to share with you guys, and that is another resourcefulness focused character, but this time, instead of milling, for example, you are focused on crafting equipment. Now, for this, I have set myself up to be a multi-crafter, which means I am focusing on both professional equipment and regular equipment. So to give you a route to go for first, you can, for example, go for professional equipment, which is typically the best route to go, and for this one, I would, for example, focus on polished production, and I want to make the alchemist mixing rod. In this case, you can start making mixing rods for alchemist and get a hefty amount of gold while doing so. Typically, I get 5,000 gold commissions for making a quality 5, and they provide all the reagents necessary to make a quality 5, and then it's just for me to click one button, and the thing is, even though you're only getting, let's just say you get 2,000 gold commissions as well, because I know some popular servers out there have 2,000 gold commissions, and some people even do it for free. The thing is, even if I have 2,000 gold commissions, I can proc resourcefulness and make a bunch of gold from their reagents, the reagents they provide. I can quote-unquote steal those with resourcefulness and then sell those on the auction house. So for this, to set yourself up to make alchemist mixing rods the absolute best way, you would spend 30 points, 30 points, and then 30 points. At this point, you have spent 90 knowledge points in making this item. Now, at this point, you also want to have the most amount of resourcefulness that you can to make more gold from your craft, because the more you proc resourcefulness, the more gold you will make. So you learn Pursuit of Knowledge, then you go down to Detail Oriented, you max that one out, and then you go back to Pursuit of Knowledge to max that one out as well. At this point, you might also be spending concentration. If you are spending concentration, then you will learn Eureka and start doing that one as well. But if you have these knowledge points and you have the blue tools that you need to have here, if you have careful carvings, you have these knowledge points, you have the blue tools, and you can make quality 5 without concentration, then just skip Eureka for now. So at this point, we have spent 150 knowledge points, and if you want to expand your professional crafting, you can also learn Scribe's Quill, for example, and at this point, instead of learning Chef's Rolling Pin, I am going to go over to Combat Equipment. So we're going to learn this one, and we're going to max this one out straight off the bat, and then we're going to learn Staves and craft that. and I also want to have torches. This will be like at this point we need 240 knowledge points, by the way, and I want to have even more. I want to be able to make torches as well. Now we are up to 270 knowledge points needed, but you can craft so many things. Now the thing is, for staves and torches, which is basically one-handed equipment, or the offhand I mean, right? So you can make both two-handed staves and offhands, which means you can do PvP recipes. They are bound on equip, and you can sell those on the auction house. So you can make PvP staves and PvP offhands and sell on the auction house. Plus you can advertise your crafts in trade chat, and then they can get the better soulbound versions crafted for themselves. Not only that, you can do embellished epic PvE items as well. They are soulbound, so you have to advertise that in the trade chat, for example, but you can make the best equipment for other people. And when you can do both staves and offhands, it just increases the amount of different crafts you can do, getting you potentially more customers. But obviously you want to start with one, so 240 points needed just to start with one of them, and then you branch out to the other one over time, just by getting all the knowledge points you can every single week and branching out bit by bit. You can also, for example, do Chef's Rolling Pin after quite a while, and now we're up to 300 points, but you can craft absolutely everything. Obviously, make some decisions here and figure out if maybe you don't want to do Rolling Pin, and maybe you don't want to do Scribe's Quill, and you also don't want to do Torches. Now we're down to 210 points, but you can still make two pretty good items that are crafted for other people. In this case, I also want to mention that patch 11.1 will probably come out with a new raid and a new Mythic Plus season, or a new PvE season overall, and a new PvE season also means new sparks, and new sparks means that people will need new crafted equipment, and you can probably sell your concentration for crafting staves for a bunch of gold. A lot of casters either want staves or offhands, and when a new season comes out, they need new crafted gear. Now, the reason why I would specifically do professional equipment first is that right now we are at the end or in the middle of a season, and I am personally not having that much luck crafting actual gear for people. But when it comes to professional items, professional equipment, like the Alchemist Mixing Rod, they are selling all the time, because people are constantly leveling up professional characters, they are doing farming characters and concentration characters. People level up alts 24/7, and a lot of those alts are planned to use for gold making, or they need to have a specific profession to craft a specific item, and I just feel like at this point the Alchemist Mixing Rod for me, for example, is a good way to make gold at the moment. Meanwhile, I pretty much know that staves and torches will be better when a new patch comes out, so I want to set myself up for current gold making first, while also having a plan for the future. Either way, that's 4 different builds, I believe, for Inscription. Well, 4 big builds, and we pretty much have 3 builds in one in build number 3, so hopefully this goes through what you need to know for Inscription and my current thoughts about how to spend your knowledge points. Kind of an updated Inscription guide and a knowledge point guide, I believe, but hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like down below and let me know if I made any mistakes in the comments as well. Thank you for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.